about yoga, generally, what are we even talking about? Because we're talking about something that's very limited. Because in the West, people think yoga means standing on your head, touching your toes, and doing some kind of almost gymnastic style exercises. But as I'm speaking about the holistic nature of yoga, I'm also remembering that there's a whole strand of yoga that's called jhana yoga. That is yoga. If the aim of yoga is to yoke and to bring together, then what it also offers is different paths and different ways of doing that. And jhana yoga offers a yoga of the mind. So it's about kind of intellectual inquiry. And so that particular style of yoga, you don't stand on your head or touch your toes or do anything physical. You simply ask a series of questions and approach self-realization or the yoking or the yoga through intellectual inquiry. So there are different ways of achieving yoga or moving towards yoga.
So, do you know of any empirical evidence talking about the effectiveness of particular yoga techniques?
A lot of research has been done, but the work that stands out mainly is work that's been done by Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, who has looked at various practices, physical practices, and also meditative practices that can be used. And they've all been used in his clinic that I think is in Massachusetts. I might be wrong about that, actually.
How is that spelled? Kabat-Zinn?
Z-I-N-N.
Z-I-N-N. Okay, yeah.
J-O-N, John Kabat-Zinn. And he's really been instrumental in kind of moving forward some of those practices, and then his work has been taken up and further research has been done at Oxford University.
How much can mindfulness be separated out from yoga in the way that he approaches it?
You can't. You can, but yoga is mindfulness.
Because obviously lots of psychologists are trying to approach mindfulness as a separate field at the moment.
I think what has been done is mindfulness practices that come out of Buddhism, and so I guess an attempt has been made to kind of cleanse the practices of any kind of religious sentiments or kind of ideas that are around them, so that you just get left with these practices. And I guess it can be the same with yoga, that it's already a philosophy and it's not associated with a religion, but obviously, it comes from India, where a lot of people might have quite strong religions, so there may be a kind of crossover.
Yeah.
So mindfulness really is an attempt to just get the practices so that the research can be done, around those practices and make it a bit more objective.
Interesting, because I'm just looking right now at I'm looking back at that website, Psychology Today, and the Art of Doing Nothing section, and I'm seeing two sections, one called the Neuroscience of Mindfulness, where the tagline is simply put, with no religious overtones, and another one is mindfulness outside of meditation. So it seems that the psychology community, for example, is really trying to separate it out from any religious and possibly even spiritual practices. So what do you feel about that? Do you feel that there's some sort of tension now going forward in personal development?
I think it fascinates me, really, because is it possible to separate mindfulness from spirituality? And if it is possible, what is spirituality? What is mindfulness?
What is spirituality?
What is it, and what is mindfulness? So I think, that for me also takes me back to psychology as well, and what the meaning of psyche is. Is there not a relationship between psyche and soul and spirit? So, mindfulness is about breath, respiration, comes from the word spiritus, Latin spiritus, meaning spirit, so I mean, I don't really know if it's possible to untangle, and if it's even necessary to untangle, and what's the fear, what's the concern about something being spiritual? I don't really understand why that would be so, why we want to try to separate them, and if we can. And the other thing that it brings up for me really is kind of historically what we have done, where we had all our kind of ancient spiritual traditions, and then we had religion, and we had religion then dismissing all those traditions, and then we had religion setting itself up, and then we get science dismissing religion and setting itself up.
So do we lose anything by separating out the practices such as mindfulness from spirituality or religion?
I'm not sure if something is lost, but I think that the desire that we have to constantly label and try and capture something. So if somebody's practicing a yoga practice or mindfulness or a meditation and really just being, do we need to understand the ins and outs of it so that we can capture it and write it down somewhere? Do we need to know, is that spiritual? Is that what is that? Do we need to really understand or try to understand all those things? Or can we just allow it to be something that is beneficial? And maybe we don't know all the ins and outs of it, but it works, it's beneficial.
So you and I attended a positive psychology talk by Martin Seligman about a month ago.
That's right, yeah.
And he was an audience member, a female audience member, asked him about positive psychology, and his response was that it's practiced by, did he say middle-aged men mostly?
I know he talked about from the head up.
Yeah, exactly. Had any thoughts about that?
Well, it's interesting that you asked me if I thought about it. I mean, I haven't been thinking about it, I've been living it, I've been being it. So, yoga already has that, it already is an integral system. But it's when we take parts out of it that we might get it just here and be quite cerebral around it. So, everything is there.